a vivid memory of, I was actually babysitting his kids, and his oldest daughter, who was maybe 6 at the time, whispered to me, she said, "You're going to work for Haro someday." And I was like, really?
Did she say that?
She did.
I didn't know that. First time I heard this.
And she didn't even say my dad. She said Mr. Haro. She said, "You're going to work for Mr. Haro someday." And I was like, really? She's like 6. So, but it came true. So I did end up working for Haro, and I have mad respect for him. He's one of those guys that runs his team such that I didn't even realize how awesome it was till I went to my first event, and other people were having these major ahas about systems and processes. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, yeah, I mean, that's just how you do it. And that's when I realized Haro was awesome, because he really trained us well. So Haro is in Greenville, South Carolina, which is actually where I am as well. And Haro, why don't you take a minute and tell people just a quick overview of your team, things like that, just so they have some context, and then we'll jump into setting appointments.
Yeah, our team, currently there are 16 of us, soon to be 18. We've probably averaged, I need to figure out the number, but I'd say 340 homes, 350 homes a year for the last 5 years.
So many I can't keep track.
We have inside sales, we have buyer's agents, I'm the listing agent, we had an administrative staff. And actually in our highest year, we sold just under 500 homes for just under 100 million. And we will, selling 300 homes this year, make more money than that year. So that's pretty exciting. I've learned a lot. I've done a lot of things wrong. I've done a few things right. And just can continue to learn on this journey of business, which is a fun journey.
Yeah. And I think I know the reason that you said made more money, but for those listening that don't know you, what did you do that you think led to making more money with less closings, but ultimately more profitable? Like what was the biggest lesson you learned that helped you do that? And then we'll jump in.
Follow the models.
Whoa. By the way, I didn't know that's what he was going to say. That's a great answer. But yeah,
we weren't, we were out of model in a lot of things. And sometimes you get stuck in a rut. And I heard someone once say a rut is just a grave with both ends kicked out.
Oh, that's good. I'm writing it down.
Sometimes you get stuck in a rut and you're doing something thinking, this is, I just got to keep grinding right here, when really it was a swift kick in the pants from one coach that was a friend. So it wasn't even a formal coaching relationship. And then it was getting into a formal coaching relationship that helped me not only see clearly the challenges that existed in my business, but also take action to address those challenges.
Yeah, that's really good.
Get back into an economic model that would be, frankly, far less stressful, more joyful, and better all around for not only, and when I say stressful, sometimes that means sometimes people assume that means just for me or me and my family, but also it's stressful for the organization.
Yeah.
According to model, the way they should be, the most efficient manner possible.
Yeah. Well, and I think internet broke up for just a minute, but basically getting efficient. And I know also, I don't know if this is the whole story here, but I also know as a coach, working with people on cutting expenses that don't make sense. And it's like, man, you can make a lot more money, but not necessarily sell more houses because you're being wiser with what you're doing. And that's a huge takeaway. By the way, if we lose Haro, which I really hope we don't, because it's a treat to have him today, we are both in Greenville, South Carolina, and it is pouring buckets outside. So the internet's been a little spotty. So if
we definitely lost some trees around here, and we were out of power this morning. So I was actually wondering if I'd had to cancel this today.
Yeah. Yeah, I legit charged up my charger that I usually take to family reunion and mega camp, thinking if I have to use hotspot all day because I lose power, I'm gonna be ready. So yeah, well, let's jump in, because we do have limited time and we want to make sure we get to the topic. So here's the main things that we're going to cover today, everybody. We're going to cover, where do you find right now business? And part of why we're doing this is, every market's different, but as a coach that works with ISAs around the country, what I'm hearing consistently is, oh yeah, I'm setting lots of appointments. And when I ask buyer or seller, 80% are buyer. And that's pretty consistent, give or take a couple percentages around the country, right? So the thing is, that sounds great and it might feel good. Yay, I set appointments. And if you don't have houses for those buyers to buy, you are not going to have a closing. And for every listing, it's more profitable because you get more buyers because for each listing you have. So there's a lot of reasons we want to focus on listings. So we're going to talk today about how do you get listings that are ready right now. I have some ideas and so does Haro. Then we're going to talk about how does an ISA, which this will be fun because I was Haro's ISA. So I'm going to talk through how did I set up appointments for Haro so that they had a good show ratio, and how do I help him get the signature and how I set it up. And then he'll share his view from the agent side of how can he then pick up that baton and run with it. So that's the goal for today. And then we're going to provide some resources at the end of class of where you can learn more. So let's start with where to find right now business. So I have some ideas, but Haro, let's start with you. If people are listening and they had that like gut, like, oh no, that 80% buyer person is me. I have felt good about all my buyer appointments and I just had an aha, I need listings. Where do you recommend people go right now to find people ready now, not 6 months from now?
Yeah, I mean, what's been effective for us is two things that I've seen. Number one is there were a bunch of people that got in. Can you hear me?
You froze for a minute. You said there were a bunch of people that something.
We had a bunch of people that got skittish for a month and a half.
Yeah.
And over the last few weeks, those people are coming back. So make sure that you're following up with your recent pipeline that maybe fizzled. So that's one. Two is, for us, we have a data bank of 2,500 clients that have worked with us over the years. And so one of the things that I did during this COVID-19 period was encouraged our team members to, our system, we use Boomtown, allows us to send out bulk texts. So we would send out bulk texts and it would be, hey, client name, this is Haro, and I did this with anyone that's left our team, I take over their account. So, hey, this is Haro with the Haro group. Been a long time since we talked. I've been checking in with everybody during this period and seeing how they're doing. How are you guys? Question mark. And that generated so much conversation and so many people and I would, then the follow-up would be they'd answer, and then I would ask, hey, what can I get or do for you? Yeah. And then I would give them examples. And I'd say, from the simplest of you've got a question about mortgages or real estate to we've even had people ask for toilet paper because they couldn't find toilet paper. So our runner literally ran toilet paper to 2 different families. And what do you know? One of them was listing a lot and a house with us a week later.
That's awesome. Because of toilet paper. Well, because of the conversation that started.
Correct.
And here's the thing that it's, I want to explain to people real quick. It's not just a nice thing like, how are you? What do you need? Which, it is nice. But from a psychological perspective, people have needs and there's a hierarchy of needs. And if they're worried about their safety or their provision, people cannot enter into a higher level conversation about thriving or goals with you. So if someone's distracted about where do I find toilet paper or where can I find chicken at the grocery store right now, if you're attempting to have a real estate conversation with them, they're distracted. So it's a nice thing to ask how people are, and it actually can help you find out where are they? Do they feel safe? Do they feel like they have their provisions met? And now they can have a real estate conversation with you. So I love
what was real that was a client of someone that no longer works for us, and they may have gone with somebody else because they didn't have a relationship with me, and we haven't been doing an effective job of maintaining relationship with all of our lifelong clients. So, that's that was, most agents do a horrible job of staying in touch with their database and their clients.
Yeah, totally 100% true. I remember the pain point I had going through the database at the Haro group of my own leads that I had fallen out of touch with. just because I had so many leads, I wasn't keeping up. And it was like sickening to call through people I had talked to before. And then I just fell out of touch. And then when I finally was getting caught up, it was, oh, we just bought a house. So it's huge to stay in front of people. Another idea for you guys to find right now business is I want you to picture, if you remember back in history class in high school, for some of us that might be longer ago than others, but if you remember, the teacher would have like a line just depicting history or time, right? And there were points like, here was the War of 1812, and here's where this happened, and here's where this happened. And I think of the timeline of a lead that way. So if a lead is brand new, it's like the beginning of time, right? And then being closed is the end of time. And as we move them along in the process, we're basically getting different notch marks on that timeline, right? Well, if you think about it, if you have a new lead, they're further back than maybe someone that you've already talked to and set an appointment with that no-showed you. So we have found a lot of success in the ISA coaching program, having clients go through and call all of your appointments that you set that canceled on you or maybe rescheduled and then never actually showed up. Call them because they were closer to the appointment than really anyone else you could talk to. And they are finding huge success from that. Another thing you can do is call people that showed but did not sign. Maybe it was, we need to think about it. Maybe they had to clean up credit, or in the appointment something was uncovered, and we can forget those people sometimes. And they can be a huge source of right now business. So no shows and also show no sign. Those would be two more places that you can find great business. By the way, funny, just so y'all feel better about yourselves, I one time had a show no. And what I mean by that is he showed up early, like 15 minutes early, and I wasn't back from lunch, and he left before I got back. So we joked that I actually had a show no, not just no shows. I had like the whole thing covered. So let's jump in. If any of you, by the way, have ideas of where you're finding right now business, put it into the chat box for the benefit of everyone. We would love to hear your ideas and mastermind that through the chat box. Okay, so now let's talk through how do we increase the show ratio. So what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people are hustling hard to increase contacts, and honestly, we need to. I'm seeing a 2.4 times average number of contacts to set an appointment right now. So if you were 20 contacts to set an appointment before COVID, you're probably around 44 or 48, somewhere in there to set an appointment right now. But what I realized in coaching is we were focusing so hard on increasing contacts and forgetting, like, gosh, if we just got better even at our sets to held ratio and then our held to signed, it would relieve some of that pressure from needing to have all these extra contacts, right? Like, let's work on these other conversion ratios too. So let's talk about how to help set to show and then show to they hired you and signed. So I'll start with the viewpoint of the ISA, and then I'll hand it to Haro on his viewpoint as the agent. Haro, I feel like you might know this. I'm totally putting you on the spot. But there was an Olympic race, I think it was in the 90s, and the US was winning, and then they dropped the baton in the handoff and ended up losing. Do you happen to remember what year that was? I totally am pulling this like...
I'm not an Olympics guy.
Yeah, I'm not either, but I heard this and it made me think of ISAs and it stuck in my brain. So if any of you know when that was, type it in. I would love to know. But the point is, there was a US relay race and we were winning the Olympics, and they dropped the baton in the handoff and they actually lost the race. And I thought of ISAs and agents because so often the ISA could have cultivated this great relationship. And if we don't hand it over well to the agent, it can really impact the likelihood of them working with the team. So I'm going to give you guys a script. Write this down. I'll say it kind of slow. You will also get the replay if you need to get it again. But when I'm setting an appointment for Haro, first of all, I want to know the client's motivation. So you got to ask, what's your motivation? How will that impact you? You know, what difference will that make in your life? What happens if you don't move? Things like that. Once you've gotten motivation and you pre-qualified them, the actual setting of the appointment goes like this. So Haro, if I could pretend you're the client for a second, just role play with me.
You can pretend.
Okay. So Haro, let me put you on hold for 1 second and check the calendar. Don't put him on hold. By the way, that builds value because, wow, that agent must be really busy if they have to check the calendar. So that builds value. Okay, Haro, it looks like George can meet with you at either 3:00 today or 4:00 tomorrow. Which one of those can you commit to? So again, a key phrase there is commit to. So Haro, 3:00 today or 4:00 tomorrow, which one can you commit to?
3:00 today.
3:00 today. Okay, great. So Haro, what I'm going to do is save that spot for you. And what that means is anyone else that comes along that says, I really want to meet with George about selling my house, I'll turn them away for today's spot. So with that in mind, can you think of anything that would prevent you from your 3:00 commitment today?
No.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll see you at 3. And remember, Haro, we're meeting in order for you to sell your house, but ultimately we're meeting so you can downsize and have more money to travel. That's really why we're meeting later today. We'll see you at 3:00.
Love it.
Perfect. So we put him on hold. We said things like, what time can you commit to? And then at the end, we reminded him of motivation and also pointed out like this, that we're turning away others. Can you think of anything? And we find that that verbiage increases show ratio usually to 80%. So often if people aren't using that, they're around 40%. They start using it, they get up to 80% really quick. The other thing we want to do, and then Haro, I'll pass it over to you, is as the ISA, I want to set up Haro to succeed. So I want to do everything I can. It's like a basketball game, right? I'm passing the ball to Haro to do the layup. Well, I got to make sure I'm skilled in how I pass that off to him so he can have a chance of getting the ball in the basket. And so what I'm going to say as an ISA is, hey, Haro, when you meet with George, you're going to do 3 things. And I'll say it a little slow so you guys can write. But the first thing you're going to do is go back over motivation and price. So number 1 is motivation and price. Number 2, you're going to interview each other. Make sure it's a good fit. And then number 3, assuming everything sounds good, we'll sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? And you guys couldn't see, I did it off screen, but any questions? It's the downswing. If you say it, then we'll have you sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? You lose the sound of confidence, which can actually create an objection. So we're going to go back over motivation and price. We're going to interview each other to make sure it's a good fit. And then assuming everything looks good, we'll sign paperwork to activate the next step. Any questions? And my goal as an ISA is to pull out if they have objections. I'm not necessarily going to try to solve them on the phone, but what it'll allow me to do is go to Haro and say, hey, when I brought up signature, here's what they said. Practice that objection before the appointment tomorrow. And that sets him up to succeed. So Haro, I'll go ahead and stop. That's kind of like the setup from the ISA perspective. From the agent side, how do we help increase show ratio and then signature?
I mean, everything you said is really good. One of the things that our folks have begun saying is, Haro would hate me telling you this, but he's actually the #1 listing agent in our area, and you're absolutely going to love him. He is so much fun. You guys are going to totally enjoy getting to know him. So just a little more like, wow, like,
yeah,
I'm getting to meet with that guy. And I mean, you're #1 in something. You may not be the #1 listing agent in your area, but you're #1 in something.
Well, and what I like about that too is it had an assumptive close in there. So it's you're going to love him. So a lot of people think closing is, will you meet with me? But actually that's an assumptive close. You're going to love Haro is an assumptive close, and that also increases it. So that's great.
Yeah. I like to call them if I can before. And if I can figure out something in common with them before they come in, I try to do that. So where did the lead come from? The other day, I had a lady that was booked for me. And as soon as I looked at her name, I realized she was Greek. And I know a few words in Greek. And I looked her up on Facebook. And it was clear that she wasn't like Greek, but had totally forgotten her heritage. But she was Greek and like stayed in touch with her heritage. So I texted her. I said, hey, Dorothy, I'm really looking forward to meeting you. From an Armenian to a Greek, and then I said a few words in Greek, and she was just tickled pink.
That's awesome.
Tickled pink, and then she comes in, and turns out she cuts my wife's hair, and I didn't know that, so that's bad on me. But anything I can do to figure out what our connection is, I'll do that, and then try to leverage that into something funny and personable, so that we can connect on a human to human level. From my perspective, now unfortunately. Sometimes my time doesn't allow that I can make all those calls. So I actually have an EA that I've trained to do, if you will, kind of like just to confirm the appointment call. Yeah. So that's part of it. And then, for us, it always blows people's minds, but obviously, you know this, but 90% of our listing appointments happen here at the office.
Yep.
And so they come in here and we meet with them here. And I think our sign to show rate's probably a little bit lower than other people, but when they're here, they know they're here to make a business decision. We don't get into as many side conversations as we do inside the house.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot.
When you can meet with more people, and a lot of people are figuring this out because of the virtual meetings right now with Zoom, but you can meet with way more people if you're not driving all over the place, right? So that's another benefit. Yeah. So you could even take a lower show ratio, but you'll be able to see more. You'll probably net more because of that. One thing I want to say, when Haro said he doesn't always have the time to make the calls, I remember as an ISA, never saying the agent will call you because we knew they may not actually be able to. So it would sound something like this of, hey, Haro, George may call you before your appointment. He may not, he may, but just if he has additional questions, here's his number. So if you see it pop up on your phone, grab it. He might have some additional questions for you before the meeting. So just be aware.
Yeah, in my case, I wouldn't give out a number because I have like 3 of them. And I usually call from the same one, but
who knows? So maybe you could say, if you see a number that's local, just pick it up. That might be Haro. You could do that. But it's that idea of under or over promise. What is it? Under promise, over deliver. I was totally having a moment. What am I saying? Yep. So that way they're not expecting the call just in case. But yeah, that's really good. The other thing I would say is when starting the appointment, however your team words this, obviously I recommend you're going to do 3 things. I already told you guys what those 3 things are. But whatever you end with as an ISA, for the agent to start with that. So, hey, it's nice to meet you. I understand you're looking to downsize so you can travel. I can't wait to help you do that today. Today, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to do this, this, this. And it's the same exact thing that the ISA said. It raises the professionalism and the wow factor of, wow, this team really is connected. They know what they're doing. And it helps that handoff. The other thing I would say is just remember, always keep motivation in front of mind. So when I read Shift the first time, and I'm looking for it because I know it's here on my desk somewhere. Here it is. Gary Keller talks so much about motivation. One thing I love is he says you have to continually re-energize and remind people of their motivation. And when I first read this, I thought it would be nothing but tactics, which it has a lot of. I was really surprised how much of it was really about client motivation. So just understand, make sure you get motivation and always say, we're going to sign paperwork so that you can downsize and have more money to travel. Or we're going to meet tomorrow so that you can motivation. Keep that constantly front of mind for your clients. All right. We do want to provide some resources, but before we do, Haro, anything else to add around where to find Right Now Business, how to increase show ratio, or how to increase sign ratio? And by the way, those of you listening, if you have questions, drop it in the chat box.
Sign ratio for the agent. I mean, one of the things I think you know this, but I've gotten back into listings. I hadn't taken listings for about 5 years.
I'm excited you're doing that, by the way. I think you're the best. I think you're so good at it. I'm glad you're doing it.
It's been a blast. I have really, really enjoyed it. And I'm one aha I've had over this journey is that I gave it away too early on. I should have held on to it longer. One of my most effective closes that I really, really enjoy is I come down to the end of it. I say, hey, do you guys have any questions? I haven't talked about our fee yet. And then they say, no, just what's the cost? And then on our close, on our PowerPoint, it's, well, let me show you our fee schedule. And it's 10% if you have land or commercial or anything that we sell under 65,000. It from 65,000 to 100,000, it's 8.5%, or any mobile homes. And then from 100,000 to 500,000, it's 7%. If you're over 500,000, it's 6%. So that's there. And they're okay. And then, and all we need to do to get started is just to go over this paperwork. And Anna, there's 3 different types of people that I talk to. 1, they want to read everything in this. 2 is they just want the overview from me. And 3 is they just say, hey, tell me where to sign and date. Which kind are you?
Definitely just tell me where to sign and date.
Great. Now, what most people tell me is give me the highlights.
Okay. Give me the highlights, Haro.
Yeah. And so then I just walk and I'm holding the document that they're going to sign. And I slowly, with explanation, walk through each paragraph. And that gives them time to digest everything we've talked about. They're paying attention. They know this is the document they have to sign. And I'm going through each paragraph, and it's not a hard close. And I just come to the end of it, and I'm like, and then I just put the pen on it, and
there you go.
That's when they sign.
Yep. And a lot of it too is just from a mindset perspective for the ISAs and also those of you that are the agents listening. The whole time when you're making the calls as the ISA, when you're in the meeting as the agent, have in your head kind of up here, just filtering everything, is this person's going to love me and they're going to work with me. And so it makes it easier for closes to just come out of your mouth. Because if you're convinced that this person is going to love you, or they do love you and they will work with you, it's easy to say things like, we'll get started, sign here, or you're going to love working with Haro, or when you meet Haro on Thursday, or he's the best, you're going to love working with him. It makes it easier for closes to just come out because you know that they're going to work with you because that's what you've told your mindset. And that definitely helps show ratio, signing ratio. One thing I want to say, and then I'm going to, Haro, have you share how people can get in touch with you if they have a referral for Greenville. But Haro mentioned that he handed over part of the job too soon. And that happens a lot, right? And I see this happen a lot actually with lead gen, where people say, I'm a single agent, I'm ready to hire an ISA and have them do my lead gen for me. And if you don't know what ISA is, it's the inside sales agent. They basically lead generate 75% of the day, whereas agents are usually in the morning. And then the ISA is morning and afternoon. That's the big difference. So they really lead generate. They're like a rainmaker for the team. Maybe they're not the owner, but when you have a good ISA, they really make income rain in onto the team. So we actually have a course that we've developed to help you know when is the right time to make that hire. And then how do you identify them? How do you train them? You can identify somebody and that's great. Yet there's a huge turnover problem in the world of ISAs. And we see that, and there's ways to fix it. So we have a class on when is the right time to hand over lead gen. And then how do you make sure if you found the right person, you actually keep them on board? What can you expect from them? Things like that. And then the thing I'm really excited about, super excited, is on June 3rd, we are launching a class called Mastering Inside Sales. And there's going to be a video as soon as Haro and I hop off. We're going to play a video for you of how that program works. So I'm not going to get super detailed right now. But basically, it's 6 months of all the systems. So how do you hand off a lead? How do you leave voicemails that get a call back? What's it look like if you inherit a crazy database and it's your first day as an ISA? How in the world do you start sorting through an inherited database? So we're going to, in this program, go over systems, skills. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of trackers, and we're also going to go over language patterns. So it's basically anything that you need as an ISA to be successful. I've done inside sales for over 26,000 hours. I counted it up the other day and I couldn't believe it. 26,000 hours. And it's all the stuff you should never do and all the stuff you absolutely must do are in the program. So I'm going to share real quick where you can learn more on the screen, and then there'll be a video, and then Haro, I'll have you share. But if you go to annascoaching.com, right here, annascoaching.com. And by the way, this is MAPS coaching. We just wanted to simplify it because people were getting confused where to go. So if you go to annascoaching.com, you can read about the Rainmaker program. You can read about the ISA program. And if you click here, it takes you to MAPS. Okay, so this is a MAPS program. But I'm really excited. We already have a great crew signed up. And hang on at the end of this video, and we'll have a short little blurb that tells you more about the program. So Haro, before we go, how do people contact you if they have a referral for Greenville?
Haro at theharogroup.com. Haro at theharogroup.com. Also follow me on Facebook. That's one of the easiest ways.
Yeah, and he's pretty entertaining. And Haro, if you're wondering how to spell it, I want to say it because it's funny. Well, it's also on your screen. But when I was an ISA, people would say, what is Haro? Like, what is a Haro? Because they didn't realize it was his name. So Haro said to tell him it's help a realtor out, which I thought was great. I thought that was very, very funny and made people laugh. So Haro at theharogroup.com, and then go to annascoaching.com to learn systems, skills, scripts, and then I'll give you a whole bunch of trackers over a 6-month program, and hang tight and there'll be a video. Anything else you want to add, Haro, before we get going?
Well, there was a few questions. I'll see if I can hit them, and then I've got to get ready for a listing appointment. Out of the box sources for listings right now, Rob Foglia. I haven't done a lot of out of the box. We're just running our game right now. We've got seller valuation leads that come through our website, a lot of database stuff, a lot of agent referrals, which is a pump we've primed and been running for years. So we get a lot of business out of that. Osvaldo Lopez says, when I give them the net sheet, they say it's 25 grand to sell my house. That's a lot. How should I respond to that? I don't give them a net sheet necessarily right away. I cover that after they've signed the paperwork if they don't ask for it. And then on the net sheet, when I do the net sheet, I actually literally, because they're in my office, and I pull up Google Sheets and I say Osvaldo Lopez's net sheet, and I put in the sale number. And then the next line says realtor commissions. I don't put the percentage times the sales number. I put the remainder times the sales number. So 0.93 or 0.94 times the sales number. And then that just gives me a new number. So if it's 200, now it says 188. So it doesn't necessarily say that 12,000 number right there. So it says 188, and then I take out the attorney's fees, repairs, buyer closing costs, deed stamps in our area. And then I just really spend time focusing on the net. So I don't hand it to them. They don't see that big number, so to speak. And I just keep focusing on the net number. Now
that's what they really care about, is the net.
It is what they really care about. And one of the things that I do is every month I pull from Broker Metrics. We're the number one office in our area for list to sale price ratio, and number one in days on market. So what is also true about us is that, look, at the end of the day, I'm your best bet to get the best net. Ooh, I like that. I've never said it that way before. I'm your best bet to get the best net. That's pretty good. Well, that's really good.
Also, from the ISA perspective, or really the agent can say this, because I remember times on the phone, they'd want to know commission and net, and ask them, what's the question behind your question? And it's usually, well, I just want the most money in my pocket. And you can pull out stuff like what Haro just said of, well, we actually save, the average in the area is 60 days on market. Our average is 30. So we save you a mortgage payment. So there's a lot of ways that we save you money that's not just in, commission. And Haro will explain that to you when you meet with him. So there's an embedded close. It gives all the more reason to meet with Haro. So just to help you ISAs out that get those type of things on the front end, Haro will explain that and then drop some stats to help them see how y'all save money. Rick says, will there be a replay? Yes, it'll get emailed to everyone watching. How do you know when you give up a job too soon? That's a loaded question.
I don't know what that meant.
Yeah, I think you said you don't know what that meant, Haro?
No.
Maybe you could type in and say more what you mean. But I think it was, Haro, you mentioned that you gave up listings too soon. And then I mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
I mentioned you might hire an ISA really before you need to. That's probably it.
I did not hire an ISA before I needed to. That was the right timing.
I agree. As the one you hired, thank you for giving me a job.
No, that was the right timing. I think I would have perfected our systems a little bit more. I mean, I literally had been a listing specialist, like only listings, for about a year and a half before I hired my replacement. And then I only worked with her for about 6 months before I completely just let her have the role. And I think I would have, and this was someone that came in to real estate and sales with no real estate or sales experience. She hit the numbers, but she didn't last at our company. And she could have, and she's really good people. And if she's listening, she's on another team now. And I'm so sad for us, so happy for her. But she's on another team now in the upstate. And I think if I had done some things differently, I think we'd still be in business together today. And I really, really love her. And I think she's a fantastic person.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Well, and I think too, what I find, and then we'll end with this, I know you have to go and I do as well. I find, and know that I talk mostly to people wanting to hire ISAs, because that's kind of my specialty of what I talk to people about. But I often hear single agents say, I want to hire an ISA because I don't really like doing lead gen. And the challenge with that is, and Gary says this in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, is lead gen is like the lifeblood of the business. It's one of the last things you hand over, because it takes an extraordinary talent to be able to do it near the level that you can do it as the business owner. Also, when you start generating more sales before you have your operations up and running, you start drowning in paperwork and contract stuff. And so Gary actually says the first hire is a coach, because if you are a single agent and you have a coach, they're going to help you get efficient and figure some things out. Then your next hire is a talented operations person, because as they take operations stuff off your plate, you will now have more time to do lead gen, lead conversion yourself. So that's kind of what we mean. It's more than we can really talk about on here, but read Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. That will have a lot. And then in that How to Hire, Train, and Retain class, we talk through what are some of the markers of, if this is happening in your business, that might be a sign it's time to hire an ISA. And we go through some different things like checkoffs. And if you have all these things, it's probably a good time to hire an ISA. Okay, last thing, what sources do you use to obtain telephone numbers? melissadata.com helps with circle neighborhoods, if that's what you're talking about, melissadata.com. Okay, I think we're done. If you are curious about the program, hang on for about 3 extra minutes. And when we hop off, there will be a video that plays of how the new ISA program works. Check it out. And hopefully I will see you on June 3rd for the new Mastering Inside Sales class. All right, thanks for hanging out with me, Haro. See you later.
Bye.
Go get the listing.
I will.
Hey everyone, Anna Krueger here, MAPS coach, primarily for inside sales agents, which is what I'm excited to talk to you about today. So a lot of you have seen on Facebook Live, maybe you're in the ISA Mastermind group, maybe you've been looking around on the MAPS group coaching page, but you will see that there is a new inside sales program launching on June 3rd. I'm really excited about it. So we've had a lot of questions about how is this different than the program that's been running the last 4 or 5 years? What's new, what's different, things like that. So I wanted to clear that up for you. So the former program that we are phasing out, that program was $800 a month. It had 4 webinars a month and one-on-one coaching. And what a lot of people told us is, I just hired an ISA, or maybe I am a new ISA, and we're not yet ready to invest $800. It sounds great, just not for us quite yet. And what I realized is there was nothing in between. It was either nothing or an $800 program. So we went on a mission to make it much more accessible for you. And that's what this new program is. It's called Mastering Inside Sales. It launches on June the 3rd, and it's gonna have 3 webinars a month. So what we're gonna do is meet 3 weeks, have a week off to implement. Meet 3 weeks, have a week off to implement. We're gonna do that 18 times. So over the course of 6 months, you're gonna get 18 webinars. This program is really everything that I've learned that you definitely should do and you should never do as an inside sales agent. So I actually counted it up recently, and I was shocked to see I have over 26,000 hours working as an inside sales agent or coaching and training inside sales agents. Through that, I've learned a lot. I've learned what causes you to fail, whether it be a mindset, a system, and what definitely causes you to succeed. And so this program is going to be a combination of all of those lessons. So there's 3 main components. The first main component is language patterns. So what do you actually say to a lead? Not to be an obnoxious salesperson. What do you say to be a true consultant and a partner in their real estate decision-making process? How do you move them along? How do you leave a voicemail that gets a callback? How do you set an appointment that actually shows up? All of that is included in this program. Basically, I take you from how do you open the call so they stay on the phone with you, all the way through they are a closed client. We're gonna break that down over 6 months, and we're gonna practice every little part of that. I'm also gonna give you trackers. So there are trackers for how do you keep track of what you've contributed to the team. I always wanted to know, okay, the team had this many closings this month. What percentage did I contribute? That mattered to me. I also wanted to know, all right, we had this much volume closed. How much of that did I contribute? It helped show what I was bringing to the team. I also have trackers for your numbers. We have trackers to keep track of your appointments after you set them, so you make sure you get paid, and you can see what happened after you set the appointment. So basically anything that was a pain point of information, there's a tracker and a system around it. I'm going to give that to you. So we have language patterns, we have trackers, and then I'm also going to teach you systems. So things like, what does your desk space need to look like in order for you to succeed? What does a good script book look like? How do I script? Where do I find a good script partner? And what does a good scripting session look like? All of those things. How do I manage the database to make sure I stay energized and move people along? So that class launches on June 3rd. You can learn about it at annascoaching.com. That's a new website. We wanted to keep it simple for you. annascoaching.com. Make sure you have the S. Anna Coaching is not me. It's annascoaching.com, and you will see the new program launching on June 3rd. I trust I'll see you there. We already have a great group of people signed up. If you have any questions, reach out. You can reply to this email, and we'll get back to you. All right, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.